The year was 2157, and the human exploration vessel SS Horizon had just entered the Tau Ceti system, following the detection of artificial signals originating from the system's fourth planet. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the bridge of the Horizon, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The alien planet loomed large, its atmosphere a swirling mix of blues and greens that reminded her of Earth. But unlike Earth, this world was home to a species that humanity had yet to meet. "Status report," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the tension that hung in the air like a thick fog. Lieutenant Commander Jacobs, the ship's science officer, spoke up. "Captain, we're detecting multiple objects rising from the planet's surface. They appear to be ships." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Hostile." "Unknown, ma'am," Jacobs replied, "but they're on an intercept course." The captain's mind raced. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since they first looked up at the stars. First contact, but something felt off. The alien ship's approach seemed too aggressive, too purposeful. "Open a channel," Chen commanded. "Let's try to communicate." Communications Officer Lai nodded, her fingers dancing across her console. "Channel open, Captain. Broadcasting on all frequencies." Chen took a deep breath. "This is Captain Ilara Chen of the human spaceship Horizon. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. Please respond." Seconds ticked by, feeling like hours. The alien ships continued their approach, now clearly visible on the main view screen. They were sleek, almost organic in design, with no visible propulsion systems. Their hulls shimmered with an iridescent quality that seemed to bend light around them. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared across the bridge. "We're under attack," shouted Tactical Officer Rodriguez. "They've opened fire with some kind of energy weapon." Chen's training kicked in. Evasive maneuvers, race shields and arm weapons, but do not return fire unless I give the order. The Horizon banked hard, narrowly avoiding another volley from the alien ships. Chen gripped her command chair, her mind racing. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. They needed to find a way to communicate, to de-escalate the situation. "Captain," Lai called out, her voice tight with urgency. "We're receiving a transmission from the alien ships. Audio only." "Put it through," Chen ordered. A harsh, guttural language filled the bridge. Unlike anything they had ever heard before, it was full of clicks and whistles, completely incomprehensible to human ears. "Run it through the universal translator," Chen commanded. Moments later, the alien message became clear, and a chill ran down Chen's spine. "Humans," the translated voice growled, "you have entered Zarkoth space. Your presence is a violation of our sacred domain. Prepare to be eradicated." Chen's heart sank. They had come seeking friendship and found only hostility, but she wasn't about to give up. "Continue broadcasting our peaceful intentions," she ordered, "and prepare for emergency FTL jump. We need to warn Earth." As the Horizon's engines rolled to life, preparing for the jump, Chen couldn't help but wonder, had humanity just stumbled into an interstellar war? The ship rocked again as another volley of alien weapons fire struck their shields. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. "Shields at 60% and falling," Rodriguez reported, his voice strained. "We can't take much more of this, Captain." Chen made a split-second decision. "Initiate the jump now, even if the calculations aren't complete. We need to get out of here." The stars on the view screen blurred into streaks of light as the Horizon leaped into FTL, leaving the hostile alien ships behind. But Chen knew this was only the beginning. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors were far from friendly. As the adrenaline of the encounter began to fade, Chen turned to her crew. "Send a priority message to Earth Command. We need to prepare for what's coming." The mood on the bridge was somber. They had all dreamed of this moment, of humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, but none of them had imagined it would be like this. "What do you think they meant by sacred domain?" Jacobs asked, breaking the tense silence. Chen shook her head. I don't know, but whatever it is, they're willing to kill for it. We need to figure out why, and fast. As the Horizon raced back towards Earth, carrying news that would forever change the course of human history, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they were woefully unprepared for what lay ahead. The aliens, the Zarkov, had technology far beyond their own. How could humanity hope to defend itself against such an advanced enemy? But as she looked around at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes, Chen felt a glimmer of hope. Humans had always been adaptable, resourceful. They had overcome countless challenges throughout their history. This would be their greatest test yet, but Chen knew they wouldn't face it lying down. All right, people, she said, her voice firm with resolve. We've got work to do. I want all sensor data from the encounter analyzed. Look for weaknesses in their ships, anything we can use. And I want options. If we can't outgun them, we'll have to outthink them. As her crew sprang into action, Chen turned her gaze back to the viewscreen, watching the streaks of light as they hurtled through space. The future of humanity now hung in the balance, and she was determined to do everything in her power to ensure that humanity not only survived, but thrived in this new, dangerous universe. Little did Chen know that back on Earth, a most unlikely hero was about to emerge, someone who would challenge everything they thought they knew about warfare and turn the tide of the coming conflict in ways no one could have imagined. 6 months after the Horizon's fateful encounter, Earth was a planet transformed. The news of hostile alien contact had united humanity in a way nothing else could. Old rivalries were set aside as nations pooled their resources, desperately trying to prepare for the looming Zarkov threat. In a nondescript building in the heart of Geneva, the newly formed United Earth Defense Council was in session. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians from around the world sat around a large circular table, their faces grim as they discussed humanity's options. General Amelia Hawthorne, a veteran of countless terrestrial conflicts, stood at the head of the table, her steely gaze sweeping across the assembled leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation is dire. Our best estimates give us less than a year before the Zarkov reach our solar system. Our current technology is no match for theirs. We need a miracle. A murmur of discontent rippled through the room. They had all seen the footage from the Horizon, witnessed the devastating power of the Zarkov weapons. How could humanity hope to stand against such an advanced foe? Suddenly, the doors to the chamber burst open. All heads turned to see a disheveled man in a wrinkled lab coat stumble in, his wild grey hair sticking out in all directions. Security guards moved to intercept him, but General Hawthorne held up a hand, stopping them. Dr. Isaiah Goldstein, she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. I see you've decided to join us after all. The eccentric scientist approached the table, his eyes gleaming with an almost manic energy. I have a solution, he declared, his voice filled with excitement. We've been going about this all wrong. We can't beat the Zarkov with conventional weapons or tactics. We need to think outside the box, way outside. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on Dr. Goldstein. Even the most skeptical among them knew of his reputation. He was brilliant, no doubt, but also known for his wildly unconventional ideas. What exactly are you proposing, Doctor? Asked Ambassador Chen, Captain Elara Chen's mother and Earth's representative to the council. Goldstein grinned, pulling a small device from his pocket. He placed it on the table, and suddenly a holographic image sprang to life, showing what looked like ordinary junk, old appliances, scraps of metal, even children's toys. Ladies and gentlemen, Goldstein announced, I give you the key to humanity's survival, garbage. For a moment, no one spoke. Then laughter erupted around the table. General Hawthorne silenced them with a glare before turning back to Goldstein. Explain, she commanded. The scientist's grin widened. Gladly. You see, while everyone else has been trying to upgrade our existing weapons, I've been studying the Zarkov. Their technology is indeed advanced, but it's also predictable. They rely heavily on complex energy fields and precise calculations. But what if we could disrupt those fields? What if we could introduce an element of chaos into their systems? He gestured at the holographic junk. Earth produces millions of tons of electronic waste every year. Old circuit boards, outdated processors, even simple magnets. All of these things emit their own unique electromagnetic signatures. Individually, they're harmless. But together, properly arranged and amplified, they become a storm of electromagnetic chaos that could wreak havoc on Zarkov systems. The room was silent again, but this time it was a silence of dawning realization. Ambassador Chen was the first to speak. "You're suggesting we turn our garbage into a weapon." Goldstein nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. A weapon the Zarkov would never expect. Their advanced sensors would be looking for high-energy weapons, not the electromagnetic equivalent of white noise. We could potentially disable their ships without firing a single conventional shot." General Hawthorne leaned forward, her interest piqued. "And you're certain this could work?" "Well, certain is a strong word," Goldstein admitted. "But I've run countless simulations based on the data from the Horizon encounter. The potential is there. We just need to scale it up." The general stood, her decision made. "Dr. Goldstein, I'm putting you in charge of a new division. You'll have whatever resources you need. If there's even a chance this could work, we need to pursue it." As the meeting adjourned, a new sense of hope filled the room. It was a long shot, but it was more than they had before. Humanity was going to fight back, and they were going to do it in a way the Zarkov would never see coming. Over the next few months, Dr. Goldstein's project, dubbed Operation Junkyard, went into full swing. Recycling centers around the world were repurposed, their contents carefully sorted and catalogued. Engineers and physicists worked around the clock, figuring out how to amplify and direct the electromagnetic chaos Goldstein had proposed. But as humanity prepared its unconventional defense, the Zarkov were getting closer. Long-range sensors detected their fleet entering the outer solar system, a swarm of ships that darkened the sky of Pluto as they passed. In orbit around Earth, a new kind of satellite was being deployed, cobbled together from old smartphones, microwave ovens, and countless other discarded electronics. Each one was a node in what would become humanity's electromagnetic shield. On the ground, people watched the skies with a mixture of fear and determination. The news was full of stories about Operation Junkyard, about how humanity's trash might just save them all. It sounded crazy, but in the face of annihilation, crazy was all they had. As the final preparations were made, Dr. Goldstein stood in the control center of the International Space Station, now repurposed as the command hub for Earth's defense. He looked out at the blue marble of Earth below, marveling at how fragile it seemed. "Are we really going to save the world with junk?" asked a young technician beside him, her voice a mix of awe and disbelief. Goldstein smiled, his eyes never leaving Earth. "My dear," he said, "throughout history, humanity's greatest strength has been its ability to find solutions in the most unlikely places. The Zarkov may have advanced technology, but we have something they don't: the power of human ingenuity." As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the station. On every screen, the same message flashed: "ZARKOTH Fleet DTKTT entering inner solar system." The moment of truth had arrived. Humanity was about to find out if their audacious plan would save them, or if Earth's legacy would be nothing more than a cloud of cosmic debris. Dr. Goldstein took a deep breath, his hand hovering over the activation switch for Operation Junkyard. "Well," he said, a hint of his old manic grin returning, "let's take out the trash." As the Zarkov fleet approached Earth, tension gripped the planet. In the International Space Station's control center, now christened Junkyard Command, Dr. Isaiah Goldstein and his team watched with bated breath as the alien armada drew near. General Amelia Hawthorne's voice crackled over the comm system. "Dr. Goldstein, status report." Goldstein's eyes darted across the myriad of screens before him. each displaying data from the thousands of jury-rigged satellites now orbiting Earth. All systems are online, General. The electromagnetic field is stable and ready for activation. Good, Hawthorne replied, her voice tense. Because we're out of time. The Zarkov fleet has just passed Mars. Goldstein nodded, even though the general couldn't see him. He turned to his team, a motley crew of engineers, physicists, and even a few former garbage collectors whose intimate knowledge of Earth's waste had proved invaluable. This is it, people, he announced. Everything we've worked for comes down to this moment. Are we ready to show these aliens what human ingenuity can do? A chorus of determined "Yes, sir" filled the control room. Goldstein allowed himself a small smile. Then let's light him up. With a dramatic flourish, he flipped the master switch. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of satellites hummed to life. Old microwave magnetrons, repurposed cell phone transmitters, and countless other electronic components began emitting a carefully calibrated electromagnetic cacophony. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Zarkov fleet continued its inexorable approach, their sleek ships gliding silently through the void of space. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the lead ships began to falter. Their smooth trajectory became erratic, small course corrections becoming wild oscillations. "It's working," shouted one of the engineers, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Their navigation systems are going haywire." Goldstein leaned forward, his heart pounding. "Increase power to Sector 7, he ordered. "Let's see if we can disrupt their formation." As the electromagnetic storm intensified, the effects on the Zarkov fleet became more pronounced. Ships collided with one another, their once perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Flashes of light erupted across the Armada as systems overloaded and failed. In the UN Security Council chamber back on Earth, world leaders watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Ambassador Chen turned to General Hawthorne, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is this really happening? Are we actually winning?" Hawthorne's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. "It's not over yet," she cautioned. "But yes, it seems Dr. Goldstein's crazy plan is actually working." Back on the space station, Goldstein and his team worked feverishly to maintain the electromagnetic field. Every time the Zarkov seemed to adapt, they would recalibrate, drawing on the vast array of electronic junk at their disposal to create new interference patterns. "They're trying to regroup," called out one of the technicians, concentrating their ships in Sector 9. Goldstein's mind raced. They needed something unexpected, something the Zarkov couldn't possibly prepare for. His eyes fell on a discarded toy robot, part of the junk collection they kept on hand for inspiration. "That's it," he exclaimed. "Quick, does anyone remember the frequency of those annoying musical greeting cards? The ones that never seemed to run out of battery?" His team looked at him in confusion, but one of the younger engineers, Sarah, nodded excitedly. "My grandma used to send me those all the time. I think they operated on a frequency around 10 kilohertz. "Perfect," Goldstein exclaimed. "Let's saturate Sector 9 with that frequency. Amplify it as much as possible." The team scrambled to implement the change. Within moments, a new wave of electromagnetic interference washed over the regrouping Zarkov ships. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Ships spun wildly out of control, their systems completely overwhelmed by the unexpected frequency. "It's working," Sarah shouted, her eyes wide with disbelief. "The greeting card frequency is causing massive disruptions in their fleet." Goldstein allowed himself a moment of triumph. Who would have thought? The key to saving humanity was hidden in the most annoying Earth artifact imaginable. As the battle raged on, the Zarkov fleet found itself in complete disarray. Their advanced technology, which had seemed so unstoppable, was now their greatest weakness. Every system, every weapon, every piece of navigation equipment was susceptible to the chaotic storm of electromagnetic interference surrounding Earth. Hours passed, feeling like days to those watching from Earth and the space station. Slowly but surely, the Zarkov fleet began to retreat. Ships that could still maneuver limped away, while others drifted helplessly in space. In the UN Security Council chamber, a cheer went up as the last of the alien ships disappeared from long-range sensors. General Hawthorne turned to Ambassador Chen, a rare smile on her face. "It appears we've won the day, Ambassador." Chen nodded, tears of relief in her eyes. "Thanks to a pile of junk and the brilliance of a mad scientist." Back on the space station, Goldstein and his team were celebrating their improbable victory. The control room was a chaos of hugs, high fives, and joyous laughter. "We did it," Sarah exclaimed, hugging Goldstein tightly. "We actually saved the world with garbage." Goldstein chuckled, patting her on the back. "Indeed we did, my dear. But our work is far from over. The Zarkov will be back, and next time, they'll be prepared for our little trick." As if on cue, a communication alert sounded. General Hawthorne's face appeared on the main screen. "Excellent work, Dr. Goldstein. Your unconventional approach has given us a fighting chance. But we can't rest on our laurels. I need you and your team to start working on new applications for your junk technology. We need to be ready for whatever the Zarkov throw at us next." Goldstein nodded, his mind already racing with new ideas. "Understood, General. We'll get right on it. After all, Earth produces plenty of garbage every day. We've got an endless supply of raw materials to work with." As the transmission ended, Goldstein turned to his team. The celebration had quieted, replaced by a determined focus. They all knew that this was just the beginning. The Zarkov would return, and Earth needed to be ready. "All right, people," Goldstein announced, clapping his hands together. "Let's get back to work. We've proven that one person's trash is humanity's treasure. Now, let's see what other miracles we can create from the scrap heap." As the team dispersed, each heading to their workstations with renewed purpose, Goldstein couldn't help but smile. In the face of overwhelming odds, humanity had triumphed, not through brute force or advanced technology, but through creativity, adaptability, and the ability to find value in the most unexpected places. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Yet, for the first time since the Zarkov threat had emerged, there was hope. Hope born from the most unlikely of sources, the discarded remnants of human civilization, now repurposed into humanity's greatest defense. As he looked out at the blue marble of Earth, still safe and sound, Goldstein knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them with ingenuity, determination, and perhaps a few more crazy ideas pulled from the junkyard of human innovation. 6 months had passed since Operation Junkyard's stunning success. Earth had enjoyed a brief respite, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the Zarkov returned. In that time, Dr. Isaiah Goldstein and his team had been working tirelessly, pushing the boundaries of what could be achieved with repurposed technology. Their latest creation was the HSS Phoenix, a prototype starship built almost entirely from recycled materials. Its hull was a patchwork of old satellites and decommissioned space station modules. Its propulsion system was a marvel of ingenuity, utilizing repurposed ion engines from old communications satellites, amplified by an array of modified microwave generators. The ship's weapon systems were equally unconventional, featuring electromagnetic pulse cannons cobbled together from discarded NRI machines and old radar installations. Captain Ilara Chen, the hero of humanity's first encounter with the Zarkov, had been chosen to command this unorthodox vessel. As she stood on the bridge, surrounded by a motley crew of brilliant misfits hand-picked by Dr. Goldstein, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and trepidation. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Rodriguez, now serving as Chen's tactical officer. "Long-range sensors are picking up Zarkov's signatures. They're gathering at Epsilon Eridani." Chen's eyes narrowed. Epsilon Eridani was just 10.5 light-years from Earth. If the Zarkov were amassing there, it could only mean one thing: they were preparing for another assault. "Understood," Chen replied, her voice steady. "Alert Earth Command. We're going to intercept them before they can organize their attack. As the Phoenix prepared for its first real combat mission, tension filled the air. The ship may have been made of junk, but it represented humanity's best hope for survival. Dr. Goldstein's voice crackled over the comm system. "Remember, Captain, the Phoenix has a few tricks up its sleeve. The junkyard matrix isn't just a defensive system. It can adapt to create new interference patterns on the fly. Use it wisely." Chen nodded, even though Goldstein couldn't see her. "Understood, Doctor. We'll make you proud." With a burst from its cobbled-together engines, the Phoenix leaped into FTL, hurtling towards what would become known as the Battle of Epsilon Eridani. As they dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system, the crew of the Phoenix was met with a chilling sight. Dozens of Zarkov ships filled the space before them, their sleek designs a stark contrast to the patchwork appearance of the human vessel. "They spotted us," Rodriguez reported, his voice tense. "Multiple ships are breaking formation and heading our way." Chen took a deep breath. This was it. Activate the junkyard matrix. Full spread. Let's show them what this pile of junk can do. The space around the Phoenix came alive with a shimmering, ever-changing field of electromagnetic energy. As the first Zarkov ships entered its range, their systems began to falter. "It's working," shouted the science officer, Lieutenant Jacobs. "Their shields are fluctuating. Weapon systems appear to be offline." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Now let's press our advantage. Prepare the EMP cannons." The recycled NOI machines hummed to life, channeling massive amounts of electromagnetic energy. With a silent flash, the first EMP blast struck the lead Zarkov ship. Its lights flickered and died, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. For a moment, it seemed as though the element of surprise might win the day. But the Zarkov were quick to adapt. The next wave of ships approached more cautiously, their systems reconfigured to resist the electromagnetic assault. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, his voice urgent, "they're changing tactics. Our EMPs are losing effectiveness." Chen's mind raced. They needed something unexpected, something the Zarkov couldn't possibly prepare for. Her eyes fell on a small bobblehead figure of Albert Einstein that Dr. Goldstein had insisted on installing on the bridge for inspiration. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "Jacobs, what if we modulated our EM field to match the oscillation frequency of that bobblehead?" Jacobs looked at her in confusion for a moment, then his eyes widened in understanding. "Brilliant, Captain. The random chaotic motion could create an unpredictable interference pattern." "Make it happen," Chen ordered. Within moments, the junkyard matrix shifted. The electromagnetic field surrounding the Phoenix began to pulse and swirl in a bizarre, almost comical pattern that mimicked the erratic nodding of the Einstein bobblehead. The effect on the Zarkov fleet was immediate and dramatic. Ships spun out of control, their carefully calibrated systems unable to compensate for the absurd, unpredictable interference. "It's working," Rodriguez exclaimed. "Their fleet is in disarray." Chen allowed herself a moment of triumph, but she knew the battle was far from over. "Press the attack. Target their command ships with everything we've got." The Phoenix surged forward, its jury-rigged weapons blazing. EMP blasts, concentrated bursts of microwave energy, and even clouds of magnetically charged space debris struck the Zarkov vessels. For hours, the battle raged. The Phoenix darted between enemy ships, its unorthodox design and weapons keeping the Zarkov off balance. But the alien fleet was vast, and for every ship they disabled, two more seemed to take its place. Just as it seemed the tide might turn against them, a familiar voice crackled over the comm system. "This is General Hawthorne of Earth Command. Cavalry's here, Captain Chen. Let's send these aliens packing." A cheer went up on the bridge as a fleet of Earth ships, all retrofitted with Goldstein's junk technology, dropped out of FTL behind the Zarkov armada. Caught between the Phoenix and the Earth fleet, the Zarkov found themselves overwhelmed. Their advanced technology, once their greatest strength, had become their undoing in the face of humanity's chaotic, unpredictable assault. As the last Zarkov ship retreated, leaving behind a field of disabled vessels and debris, Chen finally allowed herself to relax. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity's junkyard fleet had prevailed. "Stand down from battle stations," she ordered, a weary smile on her face. "And someone get Dr. Goldstein on the line. I think he'll want to hear about how his bobblehead just helped save humanity." As the crew celebrated their victory, Chen couldn't help but marvel at the ingenuity that had brought them to this point. In the face of an overwhelmingly advanced enemy, humanity had triumphed not through superior firepower or technology, but through creativity, adaptability, and the ability to find inspiration in the most unlikely places. The Battle of Epsilon Eridani would go down in history as the turning point in humanity's war against the Zarkov. But for Chen and her crew, it was a testament to the indomitable human spirit and the power of thinking outside the box, or in this case, thinking inside the junkyard. As the Phoenix and the Earth Fleet began the process of securing the battlefield and salvaging what they could from the disabled Zarkov ships, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that this victory, while significant, was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. In the months following the Battle of Epsilon Eridani, humanity's approach to warfare underwent a radical transformation. Dr. Goldstein's junk technology had proven its worth, and now every nation on Earth was scrambling to contribute to what had become known as the Scrapheap Initiative. Landfills were mined for forgotten treasures. Old factories were repurposed to create the most unlikely of weapons. The International Space Station, once a symbol of scientific cooperation, had become the nerve center of Earth's junk-powered defense network. Captain Alara Chen, now Admiral Chen, found herself at the forefront of this new era of human innovation. The Phoenix, continuously upgraded with each new breakthrough, had become the flagship of Earth's growing fleet of unconventional warships. As Chen stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, overlooking a busy shipyard where new vessels were being cobbled together from Earth's discarded technology, she received an urgent communication from Earth Command. "Admiral," General Hawthorne's hologram flickered to life. "Our long-range probes have detected something big. The Zarkov are mobilizing on a scale we've never seen before. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for a final, all-out assault on Earth." Chen's jaw tightened. They had known this day would come. "How long do we have, General?" "Best estimates give us 3 months," Hawthorne replied grimly. "We're going to need every scrap of junk and every ounce of ingenuity we can muster." "Understood," Chen nodded. "I'll contact Dr. Goldstein immediately. If anyone can pull another miracle out of the trash heap, it's him." As the hologram faded, Chen turned to her crew. "All right, people. This is what we've been preparing for. I want every wild idea, every crazy notion you've been sitting on. Nothing is too outlandish. The fate of humanity depends on our ability to outthink and out-innovate the Zarkov." Over the next 3 months, Earth became a hive of frenetic activity. Dr. Goldstein and his team worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of what was possible with repurposed technology. Their crowning achievement was the Babel field, a revolutionary communication system that utilized the random noise generated by billions of discarded electronic devices to create an unbreakable encryption. For the first time, humanity had a way to coordinate their defenses without fear of Zarkov interception. But it wasn't just military technology that was evolving. The Scrapheap Initiative had sparked a global renaissance of innovation. Old problems were being solved in new ways as people looked at the world's waste with fresh eyes. As the day of the Zarkov's arrival drew near, humanity stood ready. A ring of junk tech satellites encircled the Earth, ready to create a protective electromagnetic bubble. The refitted and expanded fleet, led by the Phoenix, waited in strategic positions throughout the solar system. When the Zarkov Armada finally appeared at the edge of the solar system, it was a sight that would have struck terror into the hearts of humanity just a year ago. Thousands of ships, each more advanced than anything Earth had ever produced, filled the void of space. But now, as Admiral Chen looked out at the approaching fleet from the bridge of the Phoenix, she felt not fear, but determination. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Activate the Babel field. Initiate Operation Scruffeep. Across the solar system, humanity's defenses sprang to life. The electromagnetic bubble flickered into existence around Earth, its chaotic frequencies already disrupting the Zarkov's long-range sensors. As the alien fleet entered the inner solar system, they were met with a barrage of unconventional attacks. Clouds of magnetically charged space debris, guided by repurposed GPS satellites, swarmed their ships. Concentrated beams of microwave energy, generated by massive arrays of modified cell phone towers in Earth orbit, overloaded their shields. The Phoenix led the charge, its constantly adapting junkyard matrix keeping the Zarkov off balance. Every time the aliens thought they had adapted to one form of attack, humanity would switch to another, pulling new tricks out of their seemingly endless bag of junky innovations. The battle raged for days. Earth took heavy losses, but for every human ship destroyed, dozens of Zarkov vessels were disabled or forced to retreat. The aliens found themselves overwhelmed not by superior firepower, but by the sheer unpredictability and adaptability of humanity's Scruffeep arsenal. As the tide of battle began to turn decisively in Earth's favor, Admiral Chen received an unexpected communication. It was from the Zarkov command ship, requesting parley. With the approval of Earth Command, Chen agreed to meet with the Zarkov leader aboard a neutral vessel. As she shuttled over to the meeting point, she couldn't help but wonder what this encounter would bring. The Zarkov Supreme Commander was not what Chen had expected. The alien was smaller than she had imagined, with iridescent scales and large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Admiral Chen, the alien spoke, its words translated by a hastily modified universal translator. "We underestimated your species." Chen raised an eyebrow. A costly mistake. The Zarkov commander nodded, a gesture it had clearly learned to facilitate communication. "Indeed, we came to your world seeking to claim its resources, believing our advanced technology made us invincible. We did not account for creativity." "Necessity is the mother of invention," Chen replied. "You threatened our existence. We had no choice but to innovate or perish." "Your species has shown us something we had forgotten," the Zarkov continued. "The value of adaptation, of finding new solutions to old problems. We wish to learn from you." Chen was taken aback. This was not how she had expected this conversation to go. "You're proposing an alliance." "An exchange," the Zarkov clarified. "Our advanced technology for your innovative thinking. Together, we could achieve greatness beyond imagining." As Chen considered the proposal, she couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity's greatest weakness, its wastefulness, had become its greatest strength, and now held the key to a peaceful resolution with a technologically superior species. "I'll need to discuss this with Earth's leadership," Chen replied cautiously. "But I believe we can find a way forward that benefits both our species." As Chen returned to the Phoenix to relay the unexpected turn of events to Earth Command, she marveled at the strange path that had led them here. What had begun as a desperate scramble for survival had evolved into an opportunity for interstellar cooperation and advancement. In the years that followed the Great Junk War, as it came to be known, Earth and the Zarkov entered into an unprecedented era of collaboration and mutual growth. The exchange of ideas and technologies led to breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved alone. Dr. Isaiah Goldstein, now hailed as the savior of humanity, found himself working alongside Zarkov's scientists, combining Earth's knack for repurposing with the aliens' advanced technological knowledge. The results were nothing short of revolutionary. Landfills, once symbols of waste and environmental degradation, were transformed into thriving centers of innovation. The Scruffeep initiative evolved into a galaxy-wide movement, with other alien races joining in to share their own unique approaches to reusing and repurposing. Admiral Ilara Chen, having played a pivotal role in both the war and the peace that followed, now served as Earth's ambassador to the newly formed Galactic Council. As she stood before the assembled representatives of dozens of alien races, she couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought them all to this point. Distinguished delegates, Chen began her address, her voice carrying across the grand chamber. Today, we stand at the dawn of a new era. An era born not from conquest or subjugation, but from understanding and cooperation. She gestured to the Zarkov representative seated nearby. Our former adversaries have become our staunchest allies. Together, we have learned that true strength lies not in technological superiority, but in the ability to adapt, to find value where others see only waste, and to approach problems from new and unexpected angles. As Chen spoke, holographic displays around the chamber showcased the fruits of Earth and Zarkov cooperation. There were ships that combined the sleek designs of Zarkov vessels with the adaptive unpredictability of human junk tech. Terraforming equipment that could transform barren worlds into habitable paradises using minimal resources. Medical devices that merged Zarkov biotechnology with repurposed human electronics to cure diseases once thought incurable. But perhaps the greatest lesson we have learned, Chen continued, is the value of diversity. Each species brings its own unique perspective, its own approach to problem solving. By embracing these differences, by combining our strengths and learning from each other's weaknesses, we have achieved more in a few short years than any of us could have dreamed possible. As Chen concluded her speech, the chamber erupted in applause. Representatives from across the galaxy rose to their feet, appendages of all shapes and sizes coming together in a universal gesture of approval and hope. Later, as Chen stood on a balcony overlooking the sprawling galactic capital, Dr. Goldstein joined her. The once disheveled scientist now carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had seen his wildest dreams realized. Who would have thought, Goldstein mused, gazing out at the bustling cityscape where humans and aliens mingled freely, that the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe was hiding in our garbage all along. Chen chuckled. It wasn't the garbage itself, Izia. It was our ability to see beyond the surface, to find potential where others saw only waste. That's the true human spirit, adaptability, creativity, and an unwillingness to accept defeat. Goldstein nodded, a twinkle in his eye. Still, I can't help but wonder what other miracles we might find if we just learn to look at things a little differently. The universe is full of surprises after all. As if on cue, a notification chimed on Chen's communicator. It was a message from the Zarkov Science Council. They had made a breakthrough in their study of dark matter, thanks to an unexpected application of human noise-canceling headphone technology. Chen laughed out loud. You're right, old friend. The universe is indeed full of surprises, and I have a feeling we're just getting started. As the two of them stood there, watching the sun set on this new galactic civilization, they felt a profound sense of hope for the future. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had turned near annihilation into an opportunity for growth and understanding, proving that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope to be found, sometimes in the most unlikely of places. The Great Junk War had ended, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. Armed with their newfound allies, their junk-inspired innovations, and their irrepressible spirit of adaptability, they were ready to face whatever challenges the vast, mysterious universe might throw their way. After all, as Earth had proven, one species' trash could very well be the galaxy's treasure.